I'd barely finished screwing in that new deadbolt on my front door when I heard the unmistakable slap of cheap flip-flops pounding pavement, sounding way angrier than any footwear should, like a mallard on a mission. Sure enough, here comes Linda Beckley, the self-declared queen of the Crestfield HOA, storming up with a rolled-up bylaw booklet waving in the air like she's about to read me my rights on live TV. "You can't just change a lock. That's a violation of Community Code 42B, she hollered. But then, mid-screech, she froze, mouth still half open. 10 feet behind me on my back deck sat Sheriff Clay Winslow, sunglasses, coffee, and a newspaper balanced on his knee. His grin just said, "I wouldn't miss this for the world." Linda blinked, mouth working like she couldn't remember if she was mad or about to flirt, but it was too late. Clay gave me a slow nod and said, "Nice lock, Ben. Looks pretty secure." Funny thing is, that morning wasn't supposed to go sideways. I'd finally gotten around to changing my old lock after it jammed up during that crazy cold snap last month. But with Linda getting herself reelected HOA president by one sketchy vote, I'd bet my last dollar she found a way to vote for herself twice. She'd turned into the neighborhood's personal property inspector. Her favorite phrase, "assets under community stewardship," which in Linda speak just meant stuff I get to boss around because I'm bored and need the drama. She'd already let herself into my backyard twice, calling them surprise inspections. Once I found a pamphlet jammed into my kitchen window screen. No way she did that without a key. And that's when I figured out she still had one of those old HOA duplicates. Claimed it was for emergencies, but let's be honest, that's just trespassing. Pure and simple. So I bought a heavy-duty deadbolt, anti-pick pins, the whole deal, and had it installed in under 20 minutes. But of course, those 20 minutes happened to overlap with Linda's weekly community patrol, which, as far as I could tell, just meant glaring at flower beds and snapping photos of garbage cans left out more than 5 seconds past pickup. She came in hot, demanding I submit a lock change modification form. I told her I'd be happy to engrave it in bronze if she wanted. She didn't laugh. She was gearing up for round two. But Clay Winslow just leaned forward, all casual, and asked Linda, "Are you really saying he needs permission from the HOA to change the lock on his own house, the one he pays for, that you don't even have the title to?" She tried smoothing her blouse like she was about to step on stage for a press conference. "Well, technically, modifications to exterior access features require board review under Section 42B, but I cut her off and pulled out the latest HOA bylaw printout. Section 42B was repealed in August 2021. Here's the meeting transcript. You even nodded when it passed." Her face twisted like she'd bitten into a lemon. She looked at Clay, but he just sipped his coffee, completely uninterested. Then I dropped my real reason for the new lock. Someone entered my house last week. Nothing stolen, but stuff was moved around. Pantry door wide open, faucet dripping, thermostat messed with. And my neighbor's camera even caught a guy going in with a key I never gave out. That's why I changed the lock. And, yeah, I filed a report. Linda turned pale. I I don't know anything about that. You're the one who keeps the key list, right? For emergencies?" "That's not what happened," she stammered. "That's not what the footage shows. Want to see it?" Clay stood up slow and deliberate. If someone used an HOA key to get into his house, that's potentially criminal. You sure you want to stick with your story? She just turned and stomped off, looking like a cartoon villain whose plan just went up in smoke. I figured maybe that'd be the end of it, but 4 hours later, I got an email from the HOA communications desk. Let's be real, that's just Linda using a fancier email signature. Subject line, "Immediate violation, lock change without authorization." She still didn't get it. She thought I was just another clueless homeowner she could steamhaul. But I'd spent weeks digging through HOA records. Even talked to Marvin Peters, our ex-HOA secretary who'd quit halfway through his term after accusing Linda of rewriting board decisions on the sly. Marvin even mailed me a flash drive with meeting recordings, email chains, and one golden nugget, a clip from 2021 where Linda herself said, "I suppose people should have the right to change their locks." I decided not to go nuclear yet. I wanted to see just how far she'd take it. The next day, she tapes a paper notice, illegally, by the way, to my window about an emergency board session to discuss acts of non-compliance. The kicker? Closed session, no residents allowed. I showed up anyway. Didn't even try to go inside, just leaned on the bike rack out front watching through the glass as Linda paced like a general waiting for orders. She sent out poor Alton, the guy who basically lives for folding chairs and coffee cake. "Ben, this meeting's closed," he said. "I'm not interrupting. I'm just making sure transparency doesn't get chucked out the window, too. Oh, and let Linda know I've got the repeal footage. Don't let her walk in blind." That night, Clay texted me. Apparently, Linda forgot to close a window. He heard everything. Got enough for a formal investigation. Hope you don't mind. I hit record. Things escalated fast. Neighbors started coming forward, telling stories, Linda scolding kids for sidewalk chalk, digging up people's flower beds because the colors didn't match her seasonal aesthetic, fining a guy for putting out a red umbrella. So we held a little neighborhood gathering. Nothing fancy, just folding chairs and a laptop. I played the lock video and showed everyone footage of Todd, Linda's nephew, trying my shed door at 2 in the morning. By the end of the night, over a third of the neighborhood had signed a recall petition. Friday night, community center, standing room only. Linda stood up at the podium, stiff as a board, pretending nothing was wrong. I raised my hand. "This isn't a comment, it's a motion. According to the bylaws, I have a signed petition for more than a third of homeowners for an emergency recall vote." She tried to shout me down, called it mob rule, said it was a witch hunt. But then Clay stood up at the back holding a file and said, "I've submitted all this to the county. Unauthorized entry, falsified documents. Want to dispute it? I've got time." The room went silent. The vote was called. 67% voted to remove her on the spot. She left with Todd trailing behind, not a word, just the sound of her heels ticking off her defeat. You'd think that'd be it, right? But no. 3 days later, I get a letter, a legal notice. She's suing me for harassment and emotional distress, claimed I'd caused her severe psychological trauma. I laughed, then got curious. What was she hiding? That's when we found the hard drive. HOA budget archives, payments to a landscaping company, Beckley Greenscaping, owned by her sister, over $30,000 in the last 2 years. Another pile to a compliance audit firm run by Todd. Clay sent everything to the Financial Crimes Division. Meanwhile, her lawsuit got tossed before it even hit a hearing. Her lawyer withdrew 2 days later. The neighborhood felt lighter, like the clouds finally parted. HOA dues went down. The clubhouse turned into a lending library. We even renamed the HOA newsletter from the Compliance Chronicle to the Crestfield Ledger. Then one morning, I spotted Linda by her car, just staring at the for sale sign in front of her old house. She didn't say a word, just shot one last look at my porch, got in, and drove away. That was it, the end of the Linda Beckley era. The next morning, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No name, just a photo from last summer's barbecue. Linda laughing with neighbors she'd eventually try to bulldoze. On the back, someone had written, "Don't let it happen again." I pinned it next to the very first violation she ever wrote me, a reminder of how fast things can turn when nobody stands up. Sometimes all it takes is one lock to change everything. Now I gotta ask you, what do you think? Are HOAs really about community or just control? What would you have done if someone used a key to walk into your home uninvited? Drop a comment. I want to know just how far you'd go to take your neighborhood back.